person talking about love, thine brother is the preacher. And it seems nobody's interested in learning but the teacher.
Hey Chalk Talkers, welcome. This is Chalk Talk episode 3. Today we're going to talk about supplements, what to take and why you need to take them. First though, before we get going on that, I need to ask Jaren a question. I see you're not wearing a hat today.
I'm not wearing a hat today.
Missed that memo. But you also, you have a little mark there. I'm a little curious.
I took pull to face.
Not the first time he said that.
I had a dramatic pull to face accident today.
Wrong side of the glory hole.
Yeah, actually, it came right at my eyes, and I wasn't able to dodge it fast enough on account of I don't practice the sport where agility is really that important.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah. I was setting up some reverse band deadlifts last night, and not alone by myself, so definitely there were witnesses. And one of the plates slipped off the side as I was trying to figure out how much band tension I had, and I basically had a bar launched at my eye with about 100 pounds of elastic force. So,
Alright,
so good.
So that wasn't your wife that hit you?
No, she doesn't beat me on Thursdays because she knows that we film a podcast, and it, a lot of questions.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that makes
Smart
sense.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at today. Got clocked in the face, and then I trained a doctor, and she's like, yeah, no, you probably should get some stitches. And I was like, I probably don't have insurance, thanks Obama. And so I was like, I'm probably going to just let it see what happens and get some liquid Band-Aid.
I'd say it's a bad thing now when it comes to the insurance. I just got insurance for the first week, and the first thing I wanted to do was go jump off of something that I shouldn't have jumped off.
Just because you can.
Just because I can. I can go to the doctor. I don't have to worry. I can do all that stupid stuff I like to do.
I want to get some. I'm going to eventually, but
You guys make it sound like you're going to the store to get a gallon of milk. Like, I can't wait to drink milk. Like, we're talking about insurance.
aren't you?
It's kind of a good thing to have.
Yeah, but here's what happens is when you don't have insurance for so long, you get good. Like, when you get a cold, you take a shot of whiskey.
I'll be fine, yeah.
And that just gets you going. You're good for the day. You figure out ways to make around it. Because I'm not going to go to the doctor and pay $200 for them to say, oh, yeah, get some rest and drink some fluid.
Yeah.
So
I'm just going to drink whiskey.
Right, I'll just drink whiskey.
There's
and
fluid,
that'll be
and
fine.
then I'm eventually going to pass out and go to sleep.
I fucking get a hiccup and I call 911. What do? What do I do? Oh.
No, I'd go, but I'm stubborn, and I'm cheap. I was like, man, it's my
You should
face.
go-
It's not bleeding that much.
You know where you should go is Planned Parenthood.
So they
That's-
get you something to stop the bleeding at least, right?
I tried to get insurance before, and I actually, I had money to pay for insurance, and I went and, submitted all the stuff, and they're like, no, you can't be insured because you're too fat.
I was just going to say, it's
And
too obese.
I was like, what the heck? So then they're like, because you've been denied insurance, you qualify now for Cover Oregon. So I went and, filled out all my Cover Oregon stuff, and they're like, yeah, here you go, we'll just give you Kaiser. I'm like, I don't pay anything, and I have insurance. And I'm like,
How far
I
do
have
all right,
money
what's the
to
fatness
pay-
cutoff limit? Because I feel like I can't be that far off.
Right. Well, I mean, because I filled out all their stuff, and they're like, well, how tall are you? And I was like, 5'11". And they're like, how much do you weigh? I was like, 300 pounds. Like, you're too fat.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I was like, I have money. I work out, every single day. I eat right. And it's like, you're too fat. So you can't pay for insurance. We'll just give it to you.
I got dinged on my life insurance. I have life insurance, so apparently, there's way more incentive for me to die than there is to keep me alive.
Well, let's get this clear. If you die, can we keep the podcast room up here?
Yeah, you can have it.
Cool.
Nice.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, and I think Shayna makes I think I'm worth 10, 15 grand now dead. I'm not old enough.
Hold on. You're saying oh man, I'm worth some money.
Oh, yeah,
10,
no.
You're
So
worth,
you could buy a seriously used Kia.
right.
Gently used Kia.
That's assuming you don't pay off. I'm worth negative amounts of money, so I'm trying to be completely useless and worthless. I'm working up to being worthless.
So
basically-
you're doing a great job.
Thank
I was
you.
going to say,
Thank you.
basically, when you die, you can pay off all your bills.
Yeah,
And still owe money.
yeah. But I won't be able to keep myself alive for that long, just because insurance is too expensive.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So I'm banking on dying instead.
Yeah. It makes sense. That's what I would do.
That's just wise.
That's the American way, really. I mean, let's just bank on death.
Well, cool. So, speaking of death, moving right along.
So it's just transitioning. That's how we do it. I hate to give you guys free ammo to make fun of me, but I'm going to. So this weekend, I went to Lincoln City at Chinook Winds. They had a open call audition for the TV show Survivor.
Speaking of dying in pictures,
I really thought that was going somewhere else when you
I
started
really
saying
did.
that. Whoa.
Well, so I'm a huge Survivor fan. I've watched every single season. I'm one of those nerds that can tell you that on season 12 this person did that, and so I was really excited. Drove down to Lincoln City. I actually had my wife drive so I could work on my speech, kind of a thing, you know, like I was that nervous guy, couldn't drive, and I'm all shaking. There was no song involved. But let me tell you, what a bunch of fucking nuts that go to those open casting calls. Jesus. I think I was one of 5 normal people out of 800 that showed up to that
That's
thing.
generous, assuming that you're normal.
Well, right. And you know, I thought like in Oregon we have a lot of white trash that you see or some random overalls that go places that they shouldn't be going. But at that was like a convention for all of them where they flocked to Lincoln City to gamble their welfare checks away and then make an ass of themselves in front of a camera. It was something else. Who goes to an open casting call for a TV show they don't watch? Like, that blows my mind. There's people there like, oh, this is for what show? Oh, Survivor? Yeah, I can do that.
I could be on that.
Well, I mean, it's probably the fact that they were already there, as you said, spending their welfare check. And like, oh, casting call, I want to go do that.
And I'm not going to lie to you, my table that I sat at, within 5 minutes I was ready to stab a lady. I had one lady who was going to be the crazy character on the show.
Yeah.
That was her plan, and decided to just piss everybody off at the table by not stop talking. Like, I don't understand how many times I have to look at you while you ask a question, not respond, and look back at my phone just to make sure you acknowledge that I'm not going to answer you, and you still ask me questions. This lady probably had 20 unanswered questions in the 3 hours we were sitting at this table together.
Well, that's because she's going to outlast you.
Well, yeah, she almost didn't, because there was a point I put the phone down, I did the, all right, this lady's about to get it. Had my wife kind of tap my arm and give me the look of, no, not the place. Which, oh man, I almost ignored it, but it would have been so much worse driving home with her if I not ignored that information. So, I'm going to ask you guys, if there was a show that came on that you would try out for, what would be a show that you would try out for? Survivor's my one. I don't like reality TV. But
Naked
I love
and
that.
Afraid.
Pornhub.
Well, I wanted to do, when Survivor, I watched the first season. And when the
I
second
think that's
season...
the last time anybody watched Survivor.
Well, when the second season was coming, I was so pumped. I was like, I'm going to get on this show. And I was, 18 years old. And I was like, yeah, I want to, send in my audition tape. I'm going to do it. And so I went, started to go through the whole process and everything. And it says, you must be 21 years old to do it. And I was like, son of a bitch, this is stupid. I want to go on this show. So then I was like, whatever, fine. So then when I was I kind of looked into it again, and I think it was the 4th season or something. And I start watching it, and they have an 18-year-old kid on there or something. I'm like, this is dumb. I wanted to do it when I was 18. But I mean, I would totally do all kinds of reality shows. I would love to do Naked and Afraid. That would be awesome. Just run around naked the whole time. I mean, it's like you get to do Survivor, but you just get to be naked the whole time. That's even cooler.
So
I don't think I would survive. I would die, first of all. So, I'm from San Diego, and there is no need for any kind of survival skills whatsoever. And, to top that off, I'm asthmatic. So, I never really bothered to learn how to, make a fire, or, hunt for food, or, go collect water, or filter your piss. Because I'm going to live about as long as however many puffs I left in my inhaler. And every decision I make is going to be all right, let's do a little cost-benefit on this. I got to hike up that mountain to get some shelter. That's 4 puffs. Because I'm fat. I'm going to go chase down this animal and kill it for dinner. That's 7 puffs because I got to run.
I love how of all the reality shows to pick, you could pick one where you eat food or you cook. You pick the one that you are for sure you will die.
Oh no, I was just talking shit.
No, I'd totally go for Jersey Shore if it was still on.
Oh yeah, I'm good at fist pumping.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah.
I think I'd like to see Adrian on the Jersey Shore, but just fist pump them all in the face. Just constantly.
I'm pretty
I'd
sure.
start with Snooki.
Oh god. If I did that, I could be your hype girl.
I got an interesting story. I had to explain to my son this yesterday at dinner time what a redneck was. So
Ding, 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 ding.
we went out.
You know you're a redneck when.
We went out to dinner, and he wanted a quesadilla. So we got a quesadilla, and this kid punches it with a fork and then eats it up like this with a fork. I told him that that's not necessary. You could use your hands, and I said you look like a redneck doing that. And then he wanted to know what a redneck is. Told him somebody who sleeps with their cousin and wears a cowboy hat and
Eats quesadillas with a fork.
he took it off the fork, threw the fork on the ground, and then started eating it by his hand.
So now all you gotta do is just show them a Jeff Foxworthy video, and you'll be set.
awesome.
And you're
Right.
good. Awesome.
Easy.
Cool, so we've learned that apparently you're a redneck. Because if you don't know, then you probably are that person.
All right. Well, hey, let's move on. Today we're gonna talk about supplements, what we should be taking, why we're gonna be taking them.
Don't you copy off my notes. You made it look intelligent.
I like this. Now we got preparation over here, so I'm gonna let you
prepared.
start us off.
No,
Man.
I don't
You
wanna
got notes, and what do you got for us?
Well, I think a couple things I'd like to accomplish today is maybe come up with a list of supplements that are must need for somebody who's on a budget, and
Yeah.
maybe a must need for somebody who has an unlimited budget.
Right.
Somebody who can maybe afford a little bit more. I think a common question for me is, what is the bare minimum that I can take that to be effective? And so if there's two things that I think we should accomplish today, I think it should be those two. You know, is what you could take if you had an unlimited amount of money or unlimited, access to supplements versus if you're on a budget.
Yeah, well,
So, well, if we want to just fire off with maybe what our one thing would be, if there's only one.
For me, it would totally be the one thing that I would get if I couldn't get anything else. I would go for a joint supplement, which would be like your Cissus Quadra Lataris or whatever it is.
I feel like, alright.
And then the
This is off to a good
glucosamine and MSM and stuff. Like I try to get supplements for my joints that have all three of those in it, because I feel that hits all the points of my joints and
Joint points.
right joint points. And because of the amount of impact I put on my joints doing strongman and stuff, I always want to have a joint supplement. And so with those times when I am kind of low on funds, that's what I generally just fall back on, is just having a joint supplement.
Well, you say joint supplement? What's that gonna do for you as a lifter or as somebody who's working out? What's a joint supplement? Gonna
Basically, it's voodoo magic. It doesn't really do anything. No, I'm just kidding.
So it's a suppository.
Right. So generally speaking, for me with a joint supplement, the Cissus Quadra blah blah blah, I can never actually say the word, but it's this big long. It looks like a dinosaur name.
Quadrosaurus.
Yeah, the Cissus Quadrosaurus. That helps for me. It helps to relieve the tension and the swelling that I get in my joints, and then the MSM and the glucosamine and that stuff helps repair the joints. So from that heavy use, it just helps to alleviate that pain and help to rebuild all that tissue that I've broken up in the joints.
Does that kind of help with like tendonitis and stuff too?
Yeah, it does for me. Like I used to have really bad, tennis elbow and tendonitis and carpal tunnel and all that crap. So I started taking that, and my knees used to be horrible. Like I used to not be able to do any squats at all without wrapping 17-meter wraps around my knees and being like, yeah, okay. But now I can do squats with just knee sleeves on, things like that.
Well, squats are bad for your knees anyway.
Well, that's true, especially if you go all the way down.
Yeah, whoa. Do not. Do not.
But Jaron, you always go down.
His knees are sore for a different reason.
That's rug burn. That's what that is.
Yeah, so what supplements do you recommend? Like, I'm thinking maybe cocoa butter or bag balm.
But yeah, just for me, that's the one that I always go to, is just that joint supplement, because I'm not going to necessarily get all that stuff out of my nutrition. So I try to get a lot of my vitamins and minerals and all that stuff from just having proper nutrition and not necessarily trying to supplement my diet, which is what a supplement is you're supplementing having good nutrition. I think sometimes people get too caught up in, let me spend a bunch of money to buy a bunch of stuff instead of having proper nutrition that's going to cover a lot of those needs.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I always tell people. I was like, look, let's get, supplements are great, but we were talking about like the last 5%, maybe 10%, but I think it's the last 5% of what you should be focusing on. Mm-hmm. You need to dial in, water. You need to dial in your sleep. You need to dial, which is ironic because I'm sitting here on like 700 milligrams of caffeine and 3 hours of sleep. You need to dial in your nutrition, and when those things are done and consistent, then we can start looking for ways to kind of optimize that by supplementing. And so I kind of have, when I recommend supplements for people, I've got kind of two categories. I've got like basic nutrition supplements to fill in gaps there, and then I've got things that can help with performance and training.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the other thing for me it depends on what the person's goals are. If the person's, again, just that basic, I just want to go to the gym and like lift weights and stuff, I'll just recommend doing like a joint supplement or something, but I don't necessarily say, well, you need to start taking this, and you need to take this, and you need to take this, because they're not trying to really do something that their body's not supposed to be doing anyway. It's when you start to be like, oh, I'm going to do squats with, 700 pounds, or I'm going to do, these heavy deadlifts, or I'm going to run with 1,000 pounds on my back doing a yoke or something.
Yeah.
That's when you're doing things that, in a sense, your body's not always designed to be doing. So that's when I start to look at, okay, let's start looking at your supplements, like you're saying, to enhance your performance.
So, Adrian, what would be the one thing, if you had to take one supplement, you only got one, what would it be?
Yeah, for me, in all honesty, it'd be a multivitamin. Just trying to hit, make sure I get magnesium, iron, vitamin D, vitamin B, those kinds of things, just to kind of help with your overall, how you feel throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely notice a difference on days where I take my multivitamin first thing in the morning, kind of get up and going, you kind of feel a little bit better, right? And versus the days I don't take it, I feel a difference. And some of that could be just psychologically, but for me, if I could only take one thing, that's what I would take. 'Cause I think everything else I can get through food, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that's kind of interesting. Have you ever used like the super greens powders at all? Because I actually use that in place of doing a multivitamin, because you get a lot of the micronutrients, and you've got the minerals in there, and then you've got all the blends of the greens if you don't have the greatest veggie intake,
Right.
which I do pretty good, but I feel like for me that covers a lot more bases than just doing the multivitamin.
Right.
And when I end up taking that and piss like a highlighter, I feel like I'm putting more money down the toilet. So I'm just completely my own opinion, but I feel like the absorption might be better with something like that. So I use that in place of a multivitamin.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think one of the things, taking a multivitamin, talking about, your urine changing color. I try to imagine as like I'm gonna beat the guy that's doing a bodybuilding show. He's got the spray tan dripping in the toilet. I'm trying to change the color to like that.
Right, and just leave the toilet water in there. So like as
So
the
next
seat's
time.
got the spray tan all over it, inside the toilet's the same color as outside of the toilet. I like that. That's a
It's
good
like the
call.
showers at a bodybuilding show.
So the supplement industry is huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Billions and billions of dollars are spent on supplements every year, and these supplements aren't approved by the FDA.
Right.
So some of these companies, you don't really know what you're putting in your body, and I'm not here to talk about what companies are good or bad. We're here to talk about what ingredients your body needs. So maybe let's talk about what kind of stacks of supplements are you currently taking? Like since whatever budget you're on currently, what kind of supplements you feel are important for what you're doing right now?
Well, for me, right now, budget, I'm really broke. So for me, when it comes to supplements right now, the only things, like I'll do protein powder just because it's like I need ingesting so many calories. I just want to have that protein powder because it's quick, it's easy. I can get an extra meal in, just like a kind of a meal replacement almost. And so I'll use a protein powder. Generally, I'll add a little bit of creatine to my protein powder just after I will train to speed up my recovery just a little bit.
Somebody's not natural.
Yeah, because
Wow.
I take the creatine. I just threw that out there, guys. Sorry.
Jesus.
And then on top of that, the only other thing I'm taking right now is just a joint supplement to just work on helping repair those joints and stuff. But I'm so broke right now. Those are the only two things I really take at all or spend money on is just a protein powder and joint stuff.
What do you take?
I take a protein powder too. I do.
I take male semen.
Protein
light
powder,
central
man.
silver,
It's the
but
same
way
thing.
more
It's
fun.
exactly the same thing.
Sadly though, I do the protein powder because that's just something like that I've been told that's what I should do, so that's what I do. I don't really know. I find the cheapest one at Costco that I can get.
What the fuck?
What?
Why are you buying protein from Costco?
Well, one, because Costco's a great store. You get lots of really cool things there, but also because I don't know what I'm doing, and so they have this.
Where will you ever find a
This
sounding
giant-
board of information for, I don't know, let's say you knew some people who were having a podcast about supplements that was sponsored by Sports Nutrition Center, where
What?
you can buy supplements, and
Oh.
I don't know, Slingshot Protein, which is a protein supplement.
In my
Where will we
defense-
ever have access
In my
to help you
defense,
figure out what to do?
I recommended supplements for episode 1 so I could learn right off the bat. I'm no dummy. I know what I'm doing. The other thing I take is fish oil.
Oh, do you now?
Just do, yeah. I don't know why I do that. To be honest, Adrian told me to take that a long time ago, and I've just been taking it ever since. I have no rhyme or reason. Just
That explains
people
why your
tell me.
hair, skin, and nails are so...
I mean,
It's so smooth.
what about you, smartass?
My main one right now is protein. I've just been slammed busy with work, so I've got my evening chunk of people that I coach is from like 3:30 or 4 on through 9 o'clock. So I'll hit a shake sometime in that period, and then usually I'll hit one in between my first 2 meals. So that just kind of helps keep my protein intake up, and then keep my food budget down.
Yeah.
So I'm not, trying to slam 3 pounds of meat a day. I'm never saying that
Weird.
again, considering my facial injury.
Yeah, we're
I'm
gonna
not saying facial either. Man,
wow.
this is going downhill.
So we're gonna
Oh.
give you an early birthday present. We're gonna let all that go. I'm
Thank
not
you.
gonna make
All right.
jokes about things dripping down your face or anything else like
I
that.
appreciate
I'm gonna
that.
ignore them. I'm gonna take the high road and let those go.
I'm not going to make that a promise.
So I do that. I use dextrose or Gatorade, just usually intra-workout, so I'll do Gatorade during, usually just for my higher volume days or maybe like a squat or a deadlift day. Just something where I know the session's going to be a little bit longer. I'll do anywhere from like 50 to 75 grams of carbs during training. I'll recommend creatine for most people, but I don't personally see a big benefit from it other than holding a little bit of extra water
Yeah.
weight. I've cycled on it, off of it, and I don't really notice a huge difference, so I don't really use creatine with any kind of consistency.
Then you like to be natural.
And I like to be natural. I like to take the moral high road so I can
Right.
judge everyone else.
Right.
And that doesn't do basic shit. I do vitamin D. I'm arguing.
Of course.
Of course it's the vitamin
God.
D. Of course it's the
After you
D.
get your
We all
facials
know that.
I
and your
take
3
the
pounds of
D.
meat.
I'm done. I'm going home. I'm from a place with sun, and I live in a place with no sun, and I'm brown, so I take a lot of vitamin D. So, fuck.
All right, Adrian, what do you take?
I also take vitamin C.
Again, of course you do.
I take the magnesium.
So I start my day off with multivitamin fish oil first thing in the morning. Then a few hours later, take a couple of scoops of creatine. During a workout, I got my BCAAs. Obviously, throwing down the Slingshot Protein twice a day. And then at night, I'll throw down a iron supplement and ZMAs.
Oh, I forgot caffeine. I love caffeine.
Well, I mean,
Sorry.
that's a good point. That's what I was thinking about. Like, when it comes to like your pre-workout, what
Yeah.
do you guys do pre-workout? What do you guys use?
I have a problem.
So here's my thought on pre-workouts. What I've noticed for me is I would take these pre-workouts, 4 or 5 times a week, and they become less effective
Right.
as you take them. And so then, that first handful of weeks you're taking it, you're like, man, I'm jacked up. This is awesome. I'm having a great workout. By the time you do a competition, you're up to 5 scoops just to get going.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I've started to do is kind of cycle on and off pre-workouts. For an example, I might go 3 or 4 weeks without taking anything before I work out, and then maybe start introducing smaller things like the Viso energy drink or things like something that's not going to just spike you up. And then the day of a competition, then maybe I'd throw on something a little bit more potent,
Yeah.
just to kind of really get you going and more focused.
Yeah, I try to take a week off of just all caffeine every 2 months, 2-3 months, just because I build up a tolerance real fast. This is my second Viso of the morning. I know.
Holy cow.
Just don't judge me, okay? So I do kind of cycle on and off of caffeine just so I don't completely run my nervous system into the toilet. But I do use a pre-workout. I try to keep it just on my main training days. I've got some days where I hit just accessory work, where it's like more of a conditioning type day, and I don't use it on those. So I try to keep it to like maybe 3 or 4 times a week is all. And I kind of rotate those depending on what I'm using, because I build up a tolerance to each formula. So I'll rotate between 2 or 3 different brands, or just take time off.
So let me ask you this: when you start to look at a pre-workout, we all kind of have our own favorites, right? Of things that we feel are effective. Have you guys ever really looked at the ingredients on the bottle?
Well, and that's what I was going to get into. Is for me, what I did was I started looking at all the ingredients in the pre-workouts, and I was like,
raw powder.
I'm going to go with what I want out of that pre-workout. So like, if I want to do some pre-workout stuff, I'll generally throw in, a little bit of creatine, a little bit of like beta-alanine, throw that in there. Generally, I'll overdose on the beta-alanine. Because I get too amped up. I'm like, I'm just gonna throw like 4 scoops in here, and then I'll start
Can't
working
feel
out.
my face tingles
and then
yet.
I'm like, it's so hot in here. What's going on? And I'm like, why am I itchy everywhere? And then I'll start shaking and stuff. I'm like, okay, I should not have done that much shit, and I'll try to back off of it. But that's what I try to do. Is I'll try to, like, if I'm just gonna go with, it depends on what I'm doing, because I also have a pump supplement just to get the gains.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
It's called baby aspirin.
Yeah. But if I, it just depends on what I'm really going to train that day.
Yeah.
But for me, if I'm going to do a lot of like high intensity, like cardio kind of training in my workout, like if I'm going to be doing keg carries for distance, and then I'm going to do like a medley, and I'm going to be doing yokes and drags and
That's not the
sandbag
time to
skills,
have 700 milligrams of caffeine.
then I'll take the beta-alanine. I won't necessarily have caffeine.
Yeah.
Just so I can kind of get a little bit more of that, like, okay, I can keep going, I feel good, kind of repress that lactic acid build up just a little bit so I can keep training for longer. But for me, pre-workouts, I generally don't really take anything. I used to be a pre-workout junkie, and I used to do that thing of like, I'm going to take 30 scoops, yeah! And I got so burnt out on it because I was always taking it so much that I just started backing off of it. And that's when I started looking at the ingredients of the pre-workout, and I was like, what do I really need out of here?
Right.
How much of this, and there's also that thing of, for me personally, I think a lot of pre-workouts underdose a lot of those things that are going to actually be beneficial to you. So then what I do is I just try to get like what I feel is my good dose out of the real supplements that's going to really give me some benefit, instead of just being like, I spent a bunch of money to buy this when I could have bought the powder over here that is actually what's going to be beneficial out of that.
Well, I think they mask the lack of actual useful ingredients just with more and more stimulant. Like,
Right.
if you get all spracked out of your mind because there's now 600 milligrams of caffeine in it, you're like, this stuff is the shit.
Right.
And there's nothing actually in it. You just paid $35 for a tub of caffeine.
Yeah. Well,
That's the other thing, is talking about the prices. I mean, you have to be really careful. Just because it costs more doesn't mean it's better.
yeah.
And you go to like GNC or Sports Nutrition Center or wherever, and you see all these
Why
different
would you be at
prices.
GNC? You should
Why are
be
you
at
at GNC? Oh, are you on your way to go buy some more Costco
I mean,
protein?
yeah, you don't cost about that.
But
Asshole.
you go on and look at any of these shelves, and there might be 2 of the exact same products from 2 different companies, but the prices are completely different.
Right.
So why are the prices range from $60 down to $15 and almost the same exact ingredients, just different companies?
Well, I think a lot of that comes down to the company itself. Like, you look at like this company here, and I look online and I see, oh, this guy's repping this supplement company. I want to be that guy. I'm going to go take his supplements because I saw an ad in the magazine that had his picture with it,
Yeah.
and that's what he takes to get that big. So I'm going to go take that because I'm going to end up looking just like him if I start taking this one pre-workout, or if I start taking this over there. So it makes the supplement company have a bigger name. So then when you go into Sports Nutrition Center, you look at the shelf and you're like, oh, look at over here. This has got this. And it's, I saw the picture of this guy in the magazine with it. I'm going to get that. Where there's the exact same thing over there for like $10 or something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get that though, because who's ever heard of that company? Why am I going to go spend money for Jaron supplement over here?
Because it's awesome and I'm selling it to you.
You
Well,
can help you
it's-
drop weight on your face
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Talking
Help
about-
you get a lot
talking
of-
So you see me on the bottle and you're like, man, that guy takes the vitamin D.
And the vitamin C.
He can really knock back 3 pounds of meat, and he takes it to the face. I want to buy his supplement.
Right.
So part of talking about some of these supplement companies, you guys seen the movie Bigger, Stronger, Faster?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And So one of the things Chris Bell did was start his own supplement company and had some illegals come in, help put up some dosages together. He got his own little mix together. You don't really have to say what's on the label, or you don't have to say what's
proprietary blend.
Yeah, it's a proprietary blend, and that's it. So on top of that, Mike Rashid recently did a video and he talked about how he was having some negative side effects from some pre-workout stuff. So he took some natural ingredients, formulated his own supplement, and now that's what he takes. I mean, is that something you suggest for people to start looking into, or are we just looking at what supplements have this proprietary blend in it? We have no idea what it is. They don't have to tell you what it is.
Well, and that's what I mean by the supplements, or like pre-workout supplements always have that tendency of being like underdosed and stuff, because it's like we just do a proprietary blend, so we don't have to put the stuff in there that actually has a lot of benefit to it.
Yeah.
So for me, like that's why I'm saying, like if I'm gonna, depending on my workouts, generally what I do for my pre-workout, if I'm gonna do any pre-workout stuff, it's just gonna be like a little bit of creatine and a little bit of beta-alanine, and I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to use just as a pre-workout to kind of get me going. And if I feel really sluggish that day, I'll, drink a Viso or something, add in a little bit of like caffeine or something. And that's what I think that people should kind of look into, is what works best for their bodies, what they feel best. And that's going to be a little bit of a trial and error, or going to your coach or your trainer or whatever and talking to them about it, because I think it's a lot better idea to look into what works best for you instead of just going into the, here's this supplement here that everybody tells me I should take. I'm going to go take this, and now I'm in a coma. Or
well, I think it's really difficult for people to do that because the supplement industry is largely based on placebo effect.
Right.
So if you're like, oh, I'm going to see what works best for my body, and then now I'm going to take this, I feel great all the time.
Right.
There's a large chance it's probably not doing shit for you.
So we're talking a lot about what should be in a pre-workout. Let's say, so I'm on sportsnutritioncenter.com and I'm looking through their site. What are things that I don't want to see in those, right? You say they have a proprietary blend or whatever. What's something if I see that I'm like, ooh, that's something I probably don't want to mess with. Is there any like red flag sort of things in them that would should deter me away from
if
other
you
guys?
can still find one that has the 1,3-dimethylmethylene.
See, I liked 1,3-dimethylene.
I did too.
But the
I'm
problem
just
with
saying that you probably don't want to be.
Well, that's usually pulled off. There's not.
Right.
You can still find it. But 1,3-dimethyl was real good. But like you'd train, and then you'd want to take a nap, and then you'd be depressed. You're like, wow, man, I just set a couple of PRs there, and I really should have done better. And I guess they were all right about me, and I really want to take a nap, but I can't feel my face. One time I took pre-workout with the 1,3-dimethyl in it, and I mistimed it, and I ended up cleaning a 4,000 square foot gym in an hour. I was like, well, I'm gonna go in here, I gotta do this. Wow, my face is really itchy. Wow, I gotta pee. Wow, the bathroom's really dirty. I need to clean the bathroom. So I went and got that, cleaned the bathroom, got out here. Wow, it's really dusty in the gym. I need to reorganize the dumbbells.
So that's what we have to do to get you to clean up the gym?
Yeah.
Find me some 1,3-dimethyl.
All right, done.
I've got some out in my car. So.
But I would say things like that, but like usually the stuff that you want to avoid, they don't tell you is in there.
Well, and I think that the other thing you want to try to avoid is, I think that, like you're saying, they have a tendency to just put a ton of caffeine in these things. Mm-hmm. And so if you see a pre-workout that's just like 5,000 milligrams of caffeine, I mean, sure, you're going to feel jacked. You're going to feel like, yeah, I'm pumped up and I'm ready to go, but you don't really need that much caffeine. So it's going to come down to look at the ingredients of what you're putting in your body. Don't just buy it because you saw this in a magazine, and do a little bit of online research. Don't just sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to do this because this guy told me to. Do a little bit of individual research. Look
on the
into
ingredients,
it. Right. Instead of just being like, well, this has vitamin B12 in it. What is vitamin B12? What does it do? I mean, if you don't know, you should probably go look that up and figure out what vitamin B12 is going to do for you before you're like, it says it's got vitamin B12 and it's got 10,000 milligrams of it. I'm just gonna go ahead and take this because they can't sell me something that's not going to be healthy. Not that Viso's not healthy. I'm just saying, using it as an example.
Well, I think it's got to come back down to like what are your priorities and what are your goals. And I feel like most people jump to the wrong direction with supplements. Like they look for things like, oh, what's something to get me jacked up? What's something to give me better pumps? That's great and all, but usually it's that person who's going out and buying Pump Max 9000 that has a shitty diet, who's getting poor sleep, who's dehydrated most of the time, who isn't looking at things like sodium and electrolytes, and their diet is shit. And so they're trying to, get jacked off of stimulants and weight gainer, when they could be covering those bases with just good, solid nutrition. And so I think, like, if you're looking at your pyramid of priorities with supplements, you want to look at those base nutritional things first, which is why protein is like my first thing that I make sure that I spend money on.
Well,
so
I think
can cover
that's...
those bases. And if I've got more extra money, or there's other gaps, then maybe I'll look at that upper end thing of doing a pre-workout or whatever. But that's the first thing that's getting cut if budget gets into back down.
That's what I think is another good point to think about is when you start taking all these supplements. Like if you start taking creatine and stuff, you got to remember you need to up your water intake. A lot of people, they'll just start taking all these supplements and not think about the basic nutrition stuff. And it's like, oh, I'm going to spend all this money to take all this stuff, but they're not thinking about the effects it's having on their body. So they're not upping their water intake. They're not upping like their normal, like what they're eating and everything else. And I mean, a lot of that stuff's really hard on your kidneys and your system and everything. And if you're not drinking enough water to help flush it through and help it cycle, you're just wasting your money. And you're going to end up having neon P and you're just pissing it all out.
Here's something that's interesting, when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I didn't care what I took. I wouldn't look on the label. I'd say, oh shit, this says, well, fuck you up, so I'm going to take it.
Right.
And
Extreme!
When I got into my 30s, my 30s into my mid-30s, it's like, man, I'm like really kind of worried about what I put in my body. I don't want any of the negative side effects. I want to, take things that are going to be more beneficial. And definitely for me, I'm a lot more worried about some of the stuff that you don't know, or you have these big long names, you don't know what the side effects are going to be.
Well, I think that's a really good point too. Is you got to think about this, that the weightlifting game and the fitness game and all this stuff, it's not a sprint.
Yeah,
you're not going to just wake up. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to go bench 600 and beat Adrian. Like, whatever, I got this.
That's how I wake up most days. It just doesn't work.
Right. But I mean, yeah, there's all that mental preparation. There's all that, getting ready for it. But I think a lot of people look at, like, people who are at that higher echelon of lifting and stuff, and they're just like, if I start taking that pre-workout, I'll be there in a month. No problem. And it's like, like we talked about in, like, all of our intros and stuff, we've been doing this for a long time. I mean, Josh himself has been doing this for like 30 years. I'm just saying though, like, we've been training for a long time. We've all been working at this a long time. You didn't just wake up, when you're 18 and be like, well, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go bench, 700 pounds now. You work at it. It takes time to get there. So you're not going to be able to go find some magic supplement that's going to be like, okay, in a day, I'm going to go ahead and be, as strong as everybody else. I'm going to be, the best bench presser in the world, or I'm going to be the best squatter in the world, or I'm going to, go pick up somebody's car over my head and run around with it because I took this supplement, so now I'm badass.
Yeah. So here's something I say to people that come up to me, because I get this quite a bit, and I try to refer them over to Jaron, which I think is funny. But
are we talking about that one dude?
The one dude.
Oh my god.
So I have these guys that'll call me up and or see me at the gym or whatever and say, hey, I want to get big like you. What's the secret? What do you do? What do you take? And so one guy in particular came up to me. He's like, I want to get here, but I want to get here fast. What do I need to take? And it's like, my suggestion to him was, I want you to go 6 months, and I want every day you need to drink a gallon of water.
Yep.
Every day you need to hit this many calories. Every day you need to take a multivitamin. And if you can go 6 months and you can do all those things every single day, then I'll talk to you about the other stuff you can start bringing in, like creatine, protein, maybe some BCAAs, whatever, to help assist you in these things. But, it's a lot more than just taking protein before and after a workout, or taking creatine before you work out to get those type of results. You have to be consistent with your supplements, and we talked about protein farts not too long ago, the other day at the gym, and I notice a huge difference if I go a handful of days without taking protein and start incorporating it back in. I mean, it takes your body a couple days to get used to that stuff again. These supplements aren't something that are designed to just take when it's convenient for you. So if on Sundays you remember, because you were out drinking the night before, so I'm going to just shove all this shit in and call it good. That's not what these are designed for. These are designed to take for the rest of your life, or to take, on your training days, every training day.
On-cycle, off-cycle.
Right. It isn't designed to just take when you remember.
Well, that's a good point, too, when you bring up the whole drinking thing. Like, if you get into that whole, like, I know that when I was in my 20s, that was my problem, was like, here I am, I'm spending like $400 a month on supplements. And I'm like, I took all this stuff, I'm doing it every day, I'm lifting weights, I'm being great, and then I go out Friday night, binge drink horribly, throw up all over myself, piss all over myself, everything else. Wake up in the morning like
not good at drinking.
I know. Well, that's what happens when I
was
drink
at
2 wine
Dark
coolers.
Souls.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I drink 2 wine coolers and I'm done.
Mike's
Zima's
hard,
with it.
harder.
Yeah. But it's like so you're spending all this money on supplements, and then you go out and you drink, and you just drink heavily, and you wake up the next day, and it's like, think about what you just did. All that, not only all that progress you just made in the gym, but all that money you just spent on your supplements, you like either pissed it all out or you like wasted all that money you just spent on it. So that's one of the things that really like toned down my partying, was when I started thinking about the amount of money I'm spending on supplements, the amount of money I was spending on gym memberships, the amount of money I'm spending to go to competitions. And it's like, if I want to be, again, it goes back to those goals. If I want to be a competitive athlete, I need to start thinking like a competitive athlete and start trying to train like a competitive athlete. And that means I can't go out every Friday night and be like, hey, let's go drink 230 racks. Yeah, man, let's get it going. And then, you wake up the next day and you're like, well, that was stupid. I messed up my sleep cycles. I messed up all my nutrition. I messed up all those supplements. I know I'm not saying don't go out and have a beer every now and then, or, go out and drink or something. But I'm just saying, think about that, about the amount of money you spend on supplements, and then if you just go waste it all just going out and partying with your buddies and all this stuff.
Go buy something.
There's 2 things. We only have a few minutes left. There's 2 things I really want to touch on. One is protein, and one is creatine. I think those are 2 huge things, huge topics. So let's tackle protein first. Suggestions on protein, like things to look out for. For me, kind of the thing that I look for is how many different types of protein are in your jug of protein. Right. So if somebody says, "Yeah, I got soy protein, I got whey protein, I got egg protein, I got casein in there," it doesn't break it down percentage-wise, right? So maybe it says there's whey protein in there, but maybe 98% of it's soy protein, which is a really cheap protein, right? And I think a lot of companies do that. They don't have to tell you what percentage of each are in there.
Yeah.
So it might say, the front might say totally whey protein, but it's filled with soy protein.
Yeah.
So really important, at least from my perspective, is when you're looking at different proteins, to look at what protein is in there and what's that going to do for you. The stuff that I found has been most beneficial to me is having casein protein and whey protein in the same container and taking that. And I've noticed that's worked really well for me.
I typically look for, big thing is you look at, like, you've got whey isolate and whey concentrate, and then milk protein isolate is another one. I always look for a good quality whey isolate. I prefer to have a hydrolyzed one, because I've noticed, I'd stopped taking protein for several years because I either farted or shit it all out. And I've noticed when I started taking the hydrolyzed protein, it does cost more, but that doesn't give me any of the stomach upset. And so when I'm looking at protein, I'll read through, and if you look at, obviously, nutrition facts, the order of everything indicates, what's the main ingredient.
Right.
So I want my first ingredient to be either whey concentrate or whey isolate, or like a hydrolyzed whey. I try to find one with minimal amounts of like a whey concentrate. I won't buy anything with a milk isolate or a soy protein, anything like that.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Pretty bless you.
Oh.
I also like to sometimes they've got a digestive enzyme in there as well. So that's it on protein.
Josh, did you want to chime in?
Well, I mean,
When I'm at Costco,
yeah, I mean,
it's whatever's the cheapest.
to be honest, that's the only kind of just the way I went on this last one, because I am on quite a bit of a budget with a new baby at home. So I mean, yeah, I went to Costco because I got
Breast
a
milk,
huge tub for cheap. But I mean, to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I've been wanting to know. I've been wanting to do this episode, because I've been really curious as to what do I look for. I did. I took my jug. I looked at the back of it. And I mean, it could have been in Chinese for all I could have cared. I had no idea what to look for.
One of the things I think is you really need to see how your body reacts to it. You start taking something and you're farting a lot, or you notice your stomach kind of cramps up. You notice some kind of negative side effects.
Clearly, that's not.
It isn't working well for you. And maybe the higher grade protein, maybe it won't sit well with your stomach. Maybe it'll upset your stomach. So maybe then you need to look at other ways to get your protein in. I think really looking at how your body reacts to what you're taking is going to be key. But keeping in mind some real bottom level knowledge you should know is don't get soy protein. Stay away from that kind of stuff if it the label's got any of that on there. You know, there's other stuff you could find that's a lot more higher.
For
quality.
me, the two I always would go for, like if I have enough funds, I'll do a whey protein for like my day stuff, and I look at the ingredients, make sure that that's one of the first ingredients and stuff. And the other thing I look at is the serving size. So when it says, if you actually look on the back of a bottle, everything will say how many grams a scoop is.
Right.
If you look at it, it says that a serving is 30 grams, and it supposedly has 30 grams of protein per serving. And you look down, and it's got like grams of this, grams of that, and then it's like, oh, and we've got 10 grams of protein. If you really analyze it and break down and look at the math, you can see all the fillers in it. So I try to look at something that's got a lot, like actually pure grams of the protein, like the most bang for my buck, so to speak. And the other thing I would do is if I have the money for it, I'll do the casein before I go to bed at night.
Sure.
Like that's my evening protein, that's slow digesting protein. And the rest of them, like, sure, I'll get egg protein by eating eggs.
Yeah.
I'll get beef protein by eating beef. Eating real food. So for me, the only two kind of protein sources I would go with is either the whey, like the hydrolyzed whey, or the casein. Besides that, I just stay away from those protein powders of this, that, or whatever.
Right.
Do we want to touch on creatine real quick?
Yeah.
We're getting kind of close.
I'm interested in creatine because I looked over your notes and I think you and I are going to disagree on this. Okay. I think creatine is an important supplement to incorporate, and I don't see a need to cycle on and off of it. I think
I don't either.
As you get older, specifically, your body's going to deplete your natural creatine much faster. And some of us, maybe for me, maybe by 9 a.m. my creatine's completely depleted, so my recovery is going to be a little bit slower. So I've started incorporating 2 servings of creatine throughout the day. One about 4 hours after I wake up, and then another just pre-workout. And I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Well, I know, so to kind of give you guys some back info on how creatine actually works. No, creatine is not a steroid. No, it is not a drug. It is a naturally occurring substance. It's just a bunch of amino acids. And your body runs off of ATP, it's energy, right? All of your food gets converted to ATP. Mm-hmm. When your body utilizes that ATP, it's got a phosphate that it's utilized. You now have EDP, diphosphate instead of triphosphate. What creatine does is when you take creatine, it binds to those phosphates, and you've got that bigger pool of readily available energy for you to do work. So, it makes sense. Creatine has the most amount of documentation and studies behind it proving that it does actually help with performance. So you're looking at more reps per set, better recovery between your sets, and there has been shown to be some anabolic properties as well. So it makes sense. I do like it. I just feel like I eat enough beef that I've not maybe seen a huge benefit between having it on, taking it versus not taking it. But it makes sense, and I think kind of how you're doing it with the 2 servings, about 10 grams a day. You can just run that forever, and see the benefits of it. Have you ever looked into the differences between just a basic creatine monohydrate and the alkalized creatine that doesn't make you hold water?
Yeah, where I kind of got my information was from the carb backloading guy, Kiefer. He did an interesting article on Crealkaline and how it's really not as impressive as people make it out to be, and that just the cheapo creatine monohydrate is the way to go. And I have tried Crealkaline before, and I really didn't notice any difference.
Right.
Just cost.
That was the same thing.
The same thing I noticed.
The creatine monohydrate, it's super easy. I just take a scoop of it, throw it in my mouth. It tastes like sand for about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Take a chug of water, and I'm done.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really enjoy it. I don't see any reason to spend extra money on Crealkaline or any other, expensive creatine or pre-workout creatine.
No, there's not been any proof or documentation to say that there's any difference between the two.
Well,
what doesn't make sense to me is the whole way that creatine works is by super hydrating your muscle tissue, which means you're going to hold water. So it doesn't make sense to say, oh, well, our creatine won't make you bloat and hold water, when the whole reason that creatine works is because it makes you bloat and hold water.
So here's something I'm willing to place a bet on. Within the next 10 years, creatine will start being prescribed through doctors. And I'll make that bet. It'll be just like testosterone.
Yeah.
10 years ago we thought there's no way testosterone would ever be prescribed like it is now.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that in 10 years, I believe creatine will be prescribed by doctors for people that are aging.
Yeah.
Kind of be as a recovery and anti-aging type supplement.
Well, for me, my opinion on taking the creatines is similar to Jaron. Like for me personally, I eat a ton of beef and I eat a ton of that, and so for me, I get my creatine through there. Now here's where you guys can make fun of me. For about 2 years when I first started competing and stuff, I was a vegetarian.
Oh my god.
So when I was
hold on, before you go, we're gonna make fun of you. I am a vegetarian, so
that's fine.
You
But when
fucking hippies.
when I first was really competing and stuff, I was completely vegetarian. So then I was taking a lot more of the whey proteins. I was taking a lot more protein powder, and I was making sure I took that creatine because I'm not going to get it from eating beef. I'm not going to get it from my meat sources. So I was, again, it's a supplement. I was taking a supplement to supplement things that I wasn't getting necessarily out of my diet and out of my normal nutrition. So that's just kind of my opinion on it.
I think that's a really good way to put it too. Is that we were talking about supplements. So because you were a vegetarian, that was really a necessary thing you needed to be able to get that in. In the same way, like when I take like a protein, I kind of have to do that because when I wake up for breakfast, I can't have bacon with my eggs. And so we just got to remember, you are supplementing things when you take stuff. It's not, I'm going to do everything I normally do and add all this stuff, and all of a sudden I'm going to be huge and in good shape.
Well, that's why I'm paleo now.
Right. But we are moving on. We're gonna run out a little bit of time. If you guys have any other questions about supplements or other supplements you want to hear us talk about, let us know at our Chalk Talk page. You can ask questions about it, really anything. But if you have supplemental stuff, we can always do another episode if we get enough material.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like we do probably have enough material for that.
Yeah, we could probably keep talking about it.
What are we moving on to next? We're moving on to questions?
Yeah, next we're going to go to questions. And I have one question that I'm going to answer from Facebook that we got. And I'm personally going to do this one only because this question was asked by a person who likes their own comments on Facebook.
His nickname is Meatwad.
I'm not surprised. So one thing he was talking about dropping body fat percentage and switching from more acidic food to or acidic versus the alkaline. So I wanted to make sure that my fat ass was the one that explained this to him, just to rub it in just a little bit more. So alkaline foods are really good. They're going to help clean out your kidneys and your liver.
Balance out your pH.
So it's important to have those to kind of clean out the system, flush it out. Like Jeff was saying on a lot of the things that people take, they are kind of bad for your kidneys and your liver. So you need that water, but you also need these alkaline foods to help wash out your system. So basically, it's a lot of greens, a lot of vegetables. And
Super green supplement that I take will help with that.
Super green, but even other things like spinach, celery, broccoli, a lot of good vegetables, and they're things that you can really mix well with some of the acidic foods. If you're having breakfast, you have eggs, you throw some spinach in with your eggs, bring that in, kind of make it a full, complete meal. But this person also says that they love to drink a lot of beer. So if you are going to be drinking beer and you want to go towards that alkaline more diet, stick with the draft beer. Home draft beer it's a very neutral. It's neutral compared to in the acidic alkaline levels. It's more neutral than compared to some of the other beers that you could get. I'm not saying that that's what, go ahead and just keep chugging that and that's going to help you. But if you have to, because, hey, some of us need our beer, that's a route to go. And then things like raisins and bananas, those are very high in alkaline. Those are good for snacks and things like that.
You can also do a shot of apple cider vinegar. You get a Bragg's. I'm gonna get the good stuff Bragg's with it's called the Mother. It basically looks like a snot wad in the bottle, but that's also good for balancing out pH levels and acidity and all that.
So a snot wad for the meat wad. Your questions have been answered. Do we have any other ones?
Yeah. So Jeremy Herring asked, can you explain your setup and how you stay tight and balanced? This is a really tough one. I think I've almost fallen off the bench numerous times. My setup is a little unique as I kind of use my hands in between the uprights to kind of just wiggle in there and get nice and tight, get my shoulder blades tucked back behind me the best I can, try to rest up as high up on my traps as possible. As far as staying balanced, I don't have any control over that. That all is my liftoff. And when the liftoff lets go, typically you'll see me, it takes about 2 seconds for me to sturdy out the bar because it'll start moving. But then after that, everything's fine. So my setup, I don't feel is much different than anybody else's. Just the balance and and that really just
I
takes
was
time.
going to say that that's probably the scariest thing ever is lifting off for you. Because I know that when I lift off for you, like handing off, it's like, if I don't hand it to you right, you're going to fall off the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had several times, where, I'll have side spotters, one side will grab the bar and the other side won't. And that throws it off, like I get the bar like this, and then the bar really starts weaving as I'm, trying to get into my spot. And I should just be smart enough to re-rack it and start over, but typically I'm not. I'm pretty stubborn and try to go for it anyway. But, I mean, as far as my setup, it's pretty generic. I think we got some more. We had a handful more from...
Man.
As we peruse through these. So I'm just going to do this while they're looking for our questions. You guys have other questions, make sure you go to Chalk Talk on Facebook. Submit questions there. We'll get to them. We answer them. We see them all.
Do we have a question and answer or question section on our website?
We totally did.
And
So
we used
they
to
can-
have a question. So you can go to chalktalk.tv.
Yeah.
That's a good spot to listen to
Well,
the
I'm
podcast.
just saying that there is those people that are still living under rocks and don't have the Facebook.
Sure.
So if they want to send, you can send us questions on the Instagram, on our YouTube, on Twitter.
Yeah.
Whatever. You got a question, hit us up somewhere, and we can go ahead and answer that question if we can ever find it.
It's like watching two chimps with a rock.
I know.
Man.
All right, so we got a few things coming up too. Places you can check us out. There's the Lift for Autism meet coming up. It's put on by Adrian and the rest of us. June 20th.
That's at Nautilus OC.
Yeah, in the annex.
Right.
Weigh-ins are the night before between like 5 and 7.
Okay. So that's Nautilus OC in Oregon City. So off of Beaver Creek.
All right, we found a couple more questions we need to get answered. Michelle Craig asked, what are the top 5 accessory exercises for bench and deadlift? So
Handy that we just filmed an entire series of bench accessories.
yeah,
When I think some of that comes down to personal preference. What's going to work best for you? So like when I'm working with athletes, it's what is their weaknesses? What do they need help with? And that's going to help dictate what is the accessory movements that I'm going to have them use, instead of just being like, here's a blanketed, here's your best accessory movements. But generally speaking, especially when it comes to deadlift, I'll do deadlift variations.
Yeah,
Like doing
same.
like snatch grip deadlifts or deficit deadlifts or
Block pulls.
Right, block pulls
did
and
you
things
say
like
snatch?
that. I did say snatch.
Snatch grip.
Awesome.
See, I talk about snatches. He talks about meat.
Yeah. as far as benching, my favorite in order would be dead pin presses, slingshot overload, the Larson presses, and the rest pause press. Find to be beneficial. Those are kind of ones I think off the top of my head that I'd incorporate after benching, of course.
Well, and for me, honestly, one of my favorite accessory movements for deadlifts would be like kettlebell swings.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's something that I haven't. I mean, it makes sense, but that's something that I've not really incorporated a whole lot of.
What about snatch swings?
Oh,
Maybe.
That's interesting. I'll try that.
snatch grip bell swing
Yeah.
from a deficit.
But I mean, for me, it just helps. Like, I have at my gym we have plateau busters, which are basically like loadable kettlebells, but they're a little
Nice.
bit bigger and stuff. And I love to use that swing just to help on that fire through my hips,
Not
to help my hip
yeah.
explosion and stuff on my deadlifts. So that's probably one of my favorites for my deadlifts. I'll do, because of strongman, I'll do tire flips, even though it's not necessarily doing a deadlift. I mean, it's more like doing a power clean. But
Well,
I'll
that was something we were talking about
Yeah.
the other day. When I flip, it's more of a deadlift, and that's because I'm not good at the power clean
Right.
type movement. So I like using those for kind of deadlift conditioning. But I'm a big fan of, for me, block pulls, because I'm weakest around the knees.
Yeah.
I'm real fast off the floor, but being able to overload that top part of the movement and get my torso stronger, that's real helpful. Deficits are really good. I don't like too big of a deficit, because I feel like if I go over more than 2 inches, it changes the form too much for me. Fan of those. I like stiff leg deadlifts, and then just lots of rowing.
Well, and that's
lots and lots of rowing.
that's why I don't like banded deadlifts. I mean, I'll use them and stuff, but I don't necessarily like to, especially if I'm using new lifters, I don't like to use banded deadlifts just because it changes your form so much. Now, I used to have a big problem with hitching all of my deadlifts because I was strong then. So when I started getting more into doing a little bit more powerlifting, I started using those banded deadlifts just a little bit more to take away that hitching.
Yeah.
But
and I've used a reverse band because I don't have a full deadlift platform to be able to rig that up. So I've done some reverse band work. I even in this last training cycle did some reverse band deficits. That way I can still kind of get my speed from the bottom, but really hammer that top part of the motion.
All right, I'm going to cut you guys off. We have about 2 minutes left, and we have more than 2 minutes of material to go through. Real quick, Jaron, besides the Lift for Autism meet, where else are you guys going to be? What other events we got coming up?
On the 25th, we are hosting here at Savage the Northwest stop of the Russian Strength Tour featuring Boris Shako and Mikhail Koklayev. That's going to be on a Thursday, the 25th of June. Thank you. It's important. We also just added another option for registration. So we've got the option for you to register and get full hands-on coaching from Shako and Koklayev, or if you're wanting to save a little bit of money but still benefit from the information, we've got another option for you to register and just come in and learn and watch the seminar and watch the other people be coached. So we've got some options for every different budget. Be sure to check it out on the official Facebook page and also on savagegym.com. And we also, in September, on the 19th, we're going to be hosting here the very first UPA powerlifting meet in the state of Oregon. Adrian, want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we're just going to give people an opportunity to come and train under a different environment or compete in a different environment. You know, I'm kind of not satisfied with what we have locally, and so I want to give people an opportunity to compete, set some new state records, learn, make it a fun, exciting environment, make them want to come back, continue to participate in powerlifting, and just give them different options. I don't want people to be forced to only compete under one federation or, you know, unless they want to drive 4 or 5 hours to go somewhere else. And I just want to make it fun. I want to do something so that they feel special.
Yeah, really benefit the lifters and even the, you know, the friends and family that kind of get left out in the meet scenario when they're actually sitting there for, you know, hours and hours. I want to be able to do it a little bit better.
Yeah. Now that you're talking about driving, you know, long distance, on August 29th, there's the Mike Makes Right. It's an XBC meet. It's an Arnold qualifier. So if you get a high enough total, you can qualify to go compete in the Arnold. And that's August 29th in Linwood, Washington. So you can go check it out on Facebook. The event page is Mike Makes Right 2015. Just go ahead and look it up. Check it out. It's going to be a good meet. I'm probably going to go compete in it because it'd be cool to go lift in the Arnold. So.
All right, let's go down the line real quick. Adrian, where can people find you at?
Find me on Facebook, the Alpha Project, and www.alphaprojecttraining.org.
Jaron, go.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter on @JaronKerridge, JeronKerr. This is going to get old. IDGE. Same name on Facebook and also online at savagegym.com.
Jeff, what about you?
So you can find me on Instagram, on Twitter at Ragnavok, RAGNAVOK. This is going to get old, really.
I know. I might change mine to just
so you can go ahead and find me at those. You can email me at ragnavok@gmail.com.
That's GMAIL.com.
And then you can always find me on Facebook. I'm just Jeff Pearson on Facebook. Hit me up, whatever.
Perfect. You can find me on Twitter at jlarson2498. I'm not going to spell it, figure it out. On Instagram at Larson2498. Also, make sure you check out, we have at Chalk Talk 503. That's a Twitter and Instagram. And check us out at chalktalk.tv. Right now, we're going to go to a YouTube video. You guys can check out our page on YouTube. You can see all the videos that we watch. Today, I found one that was a little different. It's not really a fail per se as some of the other ones, but quite entertaining. So, here we go.
What the fuck?
It's like how you squat.
I know, I was going to say, it's basically me.
I like how the spotters are like, she's totally gonna die.
Yeah, so that loud screaming was not Blanca from Street Fighter. That was this old lady, probably what, in her 80s, 70s, coming in and squatting. Here she is again, ponytail down to her ass.
Oh my god.
Wow.
It's a clean
Did they
whip
give her
though.
two whites?
Two
That
whites.
looked high.
That was high.
That looked like 2 inches high.
That was definitely half high.
Oh my god.
Alright. So, listen, she's yelling the whole time she's coming down.
Well, she yells walking it out, too.
This is ridiculous. I'll tell you what, if I was the head judge here, I'd go up and punch her in her fucking face. This is absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, I don't know.
She needs to really work on that intra-abdominal pressure. You can't achieve maximal core bracing when you're exhaling like that. No, you're
Well, I mean, yeah, when she's exhaling as she's going down, I mean, come on, think of that.
How did you do it?
This is so stupid.
so
Because this literally reminds me of my first meet when I watched you squat, and we talked about it in the first episode. Just ah!
Well, I scream when I walk out there, and then once I get under the bar, I'll scream a little bit. But once I unrack it, I'm not screaming anymore. I'll squat, and if I am going to scream, it's on my way up as I'm exhaling.
Fair enough.
But generally, I don't scream during the lift. I like to make a show of it after I'm done lifting, not in the middle of my lift.
Ah! Yeah, I totally dropped it, guys. Sorry. I really saw that going better.
Yeah, this is unbelievable.
So those of you listening to the podcast, not watching, YouTube old lady weightlifter. It's pretty easy. It pops up. It's obvious.
Or you could YouTube Chalk Talk Podcast
Or-
episode number 3,
There you go.
where the video will be.
Catch it
Boom.
there.
Boom.
So that was our episode today, guys. Check it. Follow us again next week, and we'll see you guys then.
Suck it.